first machine we have here is the Med-X leg press. In my opinion, probably the Cadillac of selectorized equipment for this movement. The nice thing about it is it's adjustable in multiple planes. The seat back has a fairly vertical one and a slightly reclined one and a fully reclined that more mimics squatting motion. The foot pedal is adjustable by pinning out the weight stack. It can either be at 0 holes, or you can push the weight stack out, say, at 4 holes, and then pin the weight out accordingly. So what happens is the seat back and the foot pedal are adjustable in an infinite number of combinations, so you can fit the equipment to almost any client rather than having a one-size-fits-all scenario. This also allows you to move the sticking point in this movement around significantly, because based on the number of holes that you pin this machine out at, you are changing the leverage factor of the movement arm. If I pull this cover off, you'll see that what happens is this is a series of pulleys that drives this piston from below, pushing the weight stack up. Well, when I pin it out at 0 holes, you have a very long lever. But if the camera will stay focused on there, while I pin it out at 4 holes, you can see how the leverage changes by moving this up. The length of the lever arm pushing the weight stack is shorter, so the weight feels much heavier. Also, at this point, the sticking point is at the lower turnaround of the movement. Whereas when it's pinned at 0 holes, the sticking point doesn't really occur until about there, 2/3 the way up. So there's a lot of adjustments that can be used by the instructor on this piece of equipment to keep the client challenged over time. The next piece of equipment is a compound rope. This is by Med-X, and it's for working your back muscles and pulling muscles of your torso, your biceps, your brachioradialis and such. The neat thing about this is that this has a retrofit on it with a cam placed into here. As the cam will rotate around this way, you'll be able to see how that cam operates. What happens in a rowing motion is that as you get more and more contracted, you're becoming weaker and weaker. Your force output is dropping. So you'll see that cam rotating around to where when you're fully contracted, it just falls onto the flat part of that cam and the resistance falls off. Well, during the lowering portion, the reverse is true, and this gets exponentially heavier, so that as you lower it, it progressively gets 12 times heavier as you lower it. That makes this particularly more challenging. Next piece of equipment is the Med-X chest press. And again, it's adjustable in multiple planes. You have a seat platform, a seat back, and a movement arm. So what ends up happening is we can take the most petite female or a 7-foot male, and by using those 3 different planes, we can construct the movement around them rather than just forcing them into a fixed piece of machinery. Next is the pullover machine. This is a vintage 1970s Nautilus pullover that was refurbished and retrofitted by Ken Hutchins. The main adjustments that have been made on it is, one is the seat back has been pushed out 1.5 to 2 inches so that the average person with an average sized torso will line up more precisely with the cams. The second thing is the cams themselves have been removed, and these cams are made out of a plastic composite that can be shaved on a lathe and have been shaped precisely to correlate with the most optimal strength curve for this movement. So that hopefully, in theory, that when someone reaches fatigue doing this movement on the pullover, they're going to reach fatigue because the muscle is thoroughly exhausted, not because they've reached some sort of mechanical sticking point. Another thing is, instead of chains and pulleys, Kevlar belts are used, and instead of pulleys with bushings, these are actually plastic pulleys with sealed bearings, so the friction in the equipment is very low.